Welcome to
J.
Hey!
Hey!
We're your go-to channel for all things IT, covering tutorials, tech insights, and troubleshooting guides to help you navigate the digital world.
Whether you're a beginner or an aspiring IT professional, we've got you covered.
In this video, we will walk you through the installation of MariaDB on Almalinux 9.5, covering essential steps like user management, benchmarking system resources, and verifying database functionality. If you're setting up a database server or optimizing performance, this tutorial is for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our latest tech content.
So hi everyone, I'm Joshua Calamba, your first presenter for this video tutorial. So in this tutorial, I will cover the steps on how to download Almalinux, set up Almalinux in a virtual machine using Virtualbox, complete the installation, set up user management, system resource, and MariaDB. So now, let's get started. So the first thing that we need to do is to open our web browser. Then go to almalinux.org. Click this one, and then click download and look for the CD icon. Then after that, click it and choose the Almalinux DVD ISO file. Then click it and wait for the file to finish downloading. So after downloading it, we need to download our Virtualbox first. So now we're going to download Virtualbox. Click this one. Then here, we're going to select the Windows hosts. So click this one and then wait for the file to finish downloading. So after that, you need to run the installer and follow the instruction to install Virtualbox on your computer. Once it's installed, open the Virtualbox. So in Virtualbox, click on the new button at the top left. This one. Then after that, we're going to name your virtual machine. You can name it whatever you want. For my case, or in my case, I will name it as Almalinux. That one. Then for the type, we will choose Linux, and for the version, we will choose Red Hat version. Where's this one? Red Hat. Then after that, we will click on next. Then for the memory size, you need to give your virtual machine some memory. So choose at least 4 gigabytes. If your computer has more memory, you can give it more, but 4 gigabytes is a good start. So we will please ask for that one. Then click next. Then create. Then click next again. Next. Then here for the file location and size, in this space, choose at least 50 gigabytes. So we will go for 50. Here 50 gigabytes. Then click create. Then after that, we will go to settings. This one. Click settings. So now we're already in settings. So here in settings, we will click on system tab. This one, click this, then click processor. So we will choose 2 or more processor for this. So that one. Then after that, we'll go to storage tab. Click storage, and then here, if the controller is empty, click the CD icon. This one with that one. Then here, select the ISO image. This one. So select Almalinux. Then after that, we will go to the next tab is a tab, which is the network tab. So here in the network tab, we will choose a bridge adapter. And then after that, click OK. So now we will start our virtual machine. So to start a virtual machine, we will click this button, start button, or you can also double click to start. So from the menu, select install Almalinux 9.5, this one. Then enter. So once the installer loads, the first screen will ask you to select your language. So the default language is usually English, but you can choose any language you prefer. So as for me, I will choose English as my language. Then click continue. So now in the installation summary screen, you see several options. This one, and then so the first thing that we need to do is to configure the network. So let's click this one, network and hostname. Then in here, choose your network interface, preferably wired. So this one, enable the network and set a host name if desired. So as for me, I won't set a host name, so I will click done. Click done. And now we need to choose where to install Almalinux. So we will click on installation destination. This one. Click this. Then select your hard drive. Normally it should be selected by default. But if it's not selected yet, you can always choose to select your hard drive. So if there is existing data, you'll need to delete it to proceed. So since I already selected my hard disk, so we will click done already. Click done. So now for the software selection, we'll go this one. Select software selection. So we'll go for with the minimal install option. This one. Select this one. So I choose minimal install. It is because it provides a lightweight installation, reducing unnecessary packages. Then let's click done. This one. So here, as you can see below, you will be asked to create a root password. So let's click root password. So note that the root password is the main password for your system. So choose a strong password as possible and make sure to remember it for you to avoid any problem in the future. So I'm going to choose a password. This one, then click done. Let's click done. So now we already created our root password. So now let's click the user creation. This one. So here in user creation, we're going to fill the details and set a password for the user. So I'm going like example Alma. Let's name it Alma. Then for the password, we're going to set a password for Alma. Here. Then after that, click done. Again. Okay. So if ever you are wondering about what is the difference between a root account and regular user, so root account has a full control of the system and it is used only for administrative tasks, while the regular user is used daily task and security purposes. So once you've done creating a root account and user creation, click on begin installation. This one. Click this. Then here, this may take a little while. So while the installation is going, let's talk about what Almalinux is. So Almalinux is a community-driven open source Linux distribution that serves as a drop-in replacement for CentOS. So it's built directly from the sources of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which means it is stable and reliable. When the installation is finished, you'll see a message here saying that it was successful. So click this one, click reboot system to restart the virtual machine. And click. So after rebooting, you'll see the terminal. So now you can see we have the login screen to our brand new Almalinux installation. Anyway, earlier, if you remember, in software selection, I choose minimal install because it provides lightweight installation, efficiency, and performance, because there will be no unnecessary graphical processes that will consume RAM and CPU. Compatibility, and it is the standard for most servers. But if you prefer a graphical interface for monitoring and demonstrating, you can also choose GUI, which is a graphical user interface. So right now, I'm going to log in directly as root, and then type the password you created earlier for your root account. So let's log in as root, then the password. Okay, after logging in, we will type sudo dnf install apple release dash space dash y. So the primary purpose of sudo dnf install apple dash release space dash y is to enable the Apple repository on your system. So this allows you to install extra software packages that are not available in the default repository. So to enable and start the SSH service, we will type this command: sudo space system ctl, then enable double dash now, then sshd. So enable means that it ensures SSH starts automatically on boot, while the double dash now means to start SSH immediately without a reboot. So you can also choose not to include double dash now in your in the command. So now to check if SSH is running, we will type this command: sudo system ctl status sshd. So as you can see here, the SSH is running. So now we will proceed to our first step, which is to create user account. So we need to create three users so they can log in via SSH. So the command to create a user is So the command to create users is user add user 1. And we will also we will also do the same to user 2 and user 3. So user add user 2, user add user 3. So now we already created our 3 users. So we will going to set a password for this user. So the password or the command to create or to set a password for this user is this one. Pass wd user 1. Now we will going to create a new password for user 1. So let's create a password for user 1 and retype the new password. So now we already created the password for user 1. So we will do the same for user 2 and user 3 again. And now, as you can see, we already created the password for the 3 users. So to verify or to check if the user exists in the system, we will use this command: cat /etc / let's put in an space here. So cat space /etc / pass wd, then this one, that one, then grep, then space, then user, then let's 1 2 3, that one, then. So click enter. So as you can see here, we already created the user 1, user 2, and user 3. So you will see these lines for confirmation or for confirmation. So now let's proceed to our next step, which is to activate and deactivate user accounts. So we can lock and unlock user accounts. So to lock a user or to disable the login, we're going to use this command. Now, as you can see here in the screen, it's locking password for user 2. So we lock the password for user 2, and now we're going to unlock the password or enable the password for user 2. So the command for this one is pass wd /u /u then user 2. So as you can see here, we already unlocked the password for user 2. So to verify or check if the user is locked, we will use this command, pass wd -s then user 2. So as you can see here, user 2 is not locked because it is PS. So to lock this, we will lock user 2 again to show you that it is locked. So the command to lock user is pass wd -l user 2. So now we will check if user 2 is locked. So we will use this command, pass wd -s user 2. So as you can see here, user 2 is locked. So now we will proceed to our next step, or to our third step, which is to change primary group of a user. So users belong to a primary group. So let's change user 1's group. So to create user 1's group, we need to use this command, group add developers. Then now we will assign user 1 to developers as primary group. So to assign user 1 as developers, we will use this command, user mod -g developers user 1. And now we already added user 1 to developers as our primary group. So now to verify it, we will use this command, id user 1. And now as you can see, we successfully added user 1 as developers. So now we will proceed to our fourth step, which is to set user expiry date. So we can set a user account to expire automatically. So the command to set expiry date, or for example in 30 days, we will use this command, chag /e $, then open parenthesis, date /d, then double quotation, plus 30 days, then double quotation again, then plus, then percentage and y slash, then percentage again, then m, then dash, percentage again, then d, then user 3. So now we already added a date to user, or an expiry date to user 3. So to verify if it is already added, we will use this command, chage -l, then user 3. So as you can see here, user 3 has an expiry date, so in June 2, 2025. So now we will proceed to our fifth step, which is to create home directories for each user. So by default, users have a home directory. So for example, /home/user1. But we can create custom directories. To create custom directories, we will use this command, mkdir p /var/users/user1. So now we will do this also to user 2 and user 3. So now we already created or give each user ownership of their directories. So now we will give each user ownership of their folder. So we will use this command, chown user1 then var/users/user1. So we already created an ownership for user 1's folder. So now we will also create user 2 and user 3's folder. And now to set directory permissions in Linux, each file is associated with an owner and a group and assigned with permission access rights for 3 different classes of users. So the file owner or the group members or others like everybody or everybody else. So file ownership can be changed using the chown and the chgrp commands. So there are 3 file permissions types that applies to each class, which is the read permission, the execute permission, and the write permission. So each write, read, and execute permissions have the following number value. So R, which means read, is equals to 4. Then W, which means write, is equals to 2. Then X, which means execute, is equals to 1. And no permission, which is equals to 0. So to find out the file's permission in a numeric mode, simply calculate the totals for all users' classes. For example, to give all permissions to the file's owner, add all the number value. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is equals to 7. And no permissions to the file's group and other users, which is equivalent to 0. So we come up to the number 700, which represents the desired permission. So we will use a command mod 700 /var/users/user asterisk. So it means for all the users. So and now we are going to verify if the users has their own directory. So to verify it, we will use the command ls id ld var/var/users/user all. So now as you can see, all the users have their own directory. This means each user owns their directory and no one else can access it. So now we're going to proceed to our next step, or to our 6th step, which is to change ownership of directories. So if you want to change the owner of a directory, for example, give user 2 an ownership of user 1's folder. So we will use this command, chown user 2 /var/users/user1. So now to verify if user 2 is the owner of user 1's folder, we will use this command, ls-ld/users/user1. So now, as you can see, user 2 is already the owner of user 1's folder. So we already finished in our 6th in creating in changing a direct ownership of directories. So now we will proceed to our next step, to our 7th step, which is to test directory restriction. So each users should only be able to access their own directory. So for example, log in as user 1 and try to create a file in users 2 directory. So now we will use this command, su-user1. So now we will use the password for user 1. We will try to create a file to users2 directory using user 1. So we will use this command touch -var -users -user2 slash test file dot text. So now, as you can see, if the permissions are correct, this should fail. This should fail. So how to fix this if needed? Okay. So to allow access, change permission. So we will go to root account first. So we will use the command su dash. Then we will use the password for user 1. So now we are already in our root account. So in our previous configuration, if you remember earlier, we used the command chmod 700 /var /users/user all. So it means that only the file owner has the permission to all files. And in order for user 1 to be able to create a file in users2 directory, that directory must have at least write and execute permission for user 1 through the owner group or others that I have mentioned earlier. So we will just also include the read permission in order to allow the directory to list the files inside if necessary. So from 700, we will change it to 777. So now to implement that, we will change this, or we will use this command chmod 777 var users/user all. So now the owner and the group can access the folder. So now we will log in as user 1 and try to create a file in users2 directory. So now we will use again the command su dash space user 1. So now we are already logged in user 1, and we will try, or we will create user 1 or the user 2 folder in user 1. So now we will use touch var /users/user2 test file .txt. So if the permissions are correct, this should be a success. So as you can see, the permission is correct, so it is success. And now we're going to verify user 1 successfully created a file in user 2 directory. So to verify it, let's use this command ls /var /users/user2 / and now, as you can see, user 1 successfully created a file in users2 directory. So now, we've successfully covered the steps to download and set up Almalinux in a virtual machine using Virtualbox, including completing the installation and the managing users. So I hope this tutorial has made it easier for you to get started with Almalinux, whether you're a beginner or an experienced user.
Hello everyone, I am Jane M. Rosales. So we are already done with the installation process of Almalinux 9.5 as well as the user management, which is done by Miss Kalamba. And today we will be setting up and managing a database server on Almalinux. In this tutorial, we will cover the installation, the configuration process, database creation, and also the backing up and restoration of MariaDB, which is our chosen database server. Now, before installing MariaDB, we need to ensure that our system meets the following requirements. First requirement is a root or a sudo user access, which we already have that, our root account. Second requirement is the having a minimum of 1 gigabyte of RAM and 10 gigabytes of free disk space. Now, if you have followed or listened to Miss Kalamba's tutorial, she already allocated at least 4 gigabytes of RAM and 50 gigabytes of free disk space, which of course clearly meet the second requirement. And our last requirement is the SSH access enable. So let us recheck in this system if the SSH is already enabled. So we are already logged in our root account, and we are already in the terminal. So just type system control status SSHD. So basically, when typing or entering command, most of the time we really place sudo in the very beginning. However, since we are we are operating as a root user, a sudo command is already redundant. So the for those who do not know, the sudo or the super user do command is a command that used to that is used to execute commands with elevated privileges, typically by non-root users who needs administrative access. However, again, as I've mentioned, we are already logged in as a root, so we already have the full administrative privileges, so making sudo command unnecessary already. That's why, going back here, we will just type this command and then enter. So as you can see, our SSHD is already enabled. Now let's continue with updating and installing MariaDB database server. Now to update, all we have to do is to run the command dnf in update -y. So this may take quite some time. So while waiting for the updating, we will first discuss why MariaDB. Why choose MariaDB instead of other database servers. So MariaDB is an open source management system, and it's also a free database management system, and that serves as a drop-in replacement of MySQL database management system. Now, this system is compatible with most operating systems like Linux, Mac, and also Windows. Now, MariaDB is also a great option if you're building a website, an online store, or a school project that needs or that requires a database. Now, it is also ideal for beginners because it is very simple to set up, and it's also easy to use. And in this tutorial, we will only be creating a small project. That is why MariaDB is best suit. MariaDB suits best. Anyways, so much for that. Our system is still updating now, so let's fast forward. Okay, so the system is finally updated. And the next step is to install MariaDB. This is the command dnf install MariaDB -server space MariaDB and MariaDB. Yes, we'll wait. So once installed, we will then start and enable MariaDB to run automatically on reboot. So let's start the MariaDB dnf system control start MariaDB. Oops. Okay, now we will check the server if it's really starting already now. So we will use the command systemctl status MariaDB. As you can see, our server is already active and running. However, it's still disabled. So we will enable that using this command systemctl enable MariaDB. Okay, after we will check again status of the MariaDB. Now it's actively running and is also enabled. So well done everyone, we have successfully finished the installation. Now let's proceed to the next. To increase the security of MariaDB, we need to configure MariaDB by running this command mysql secure installation. Enter. So when we enter this command, we will encounter a series of prompts that will make us, or that will require us to make changes in the security options. So first we will be asked to enter the current password of the root. So enter the password. Here we are asked to switch Unix socket authentication, and we will type N or no. Now why is that? Why is that no? So actually if you choose yes here, so MariaDB will use Unix socket authentication. Now when MariaDB uses this authentication, it means that the root user can log in without a password, but only from the local machine, which is the server where MariaDB is installed. So what does it mean? So you must be logged in into the local server physically or via SSH to access MariaDB as root. Now if you try to connect from another computer remotely, you won't be able to log in as root user even if you know the username, because the system only authenticates root locally using the Unix socket. That's why we will type, or we will choose N or no here. Now in the preceding prompts or prompted questions, we will just choose Y or yes. Yes. We will create the password, new password. And yes, 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 and all done. So again, we have already secured our MariaDB server, and today we will test it. So I have created a very simple website for us to test our MariaDB server. Now, prior to the creation of the website, I have already created a new database in the MariaDB, and I've also created the tables necessary for the website. Now let us go open the website in the web browser. Before that, let us first check the server's IP address. Now how? Hostname. -I host name F. So here we are prompted with a public IP address. So this is the server's public IP address, the 192.168.1.32. So we will take note of that, because we will be using that in order to access, or in order to open our website. Now let's open a web browser and type HTTP. The IP address of the server 32, and the name of the file or PHP file, and what would be the here. So this is the website. Welcome to my website. This is my created simple website. Now let's check and verify if the website is really connected to the Maria database. Now how would I do that? So I would like to add another new user in our website, and let's try to see if the changes will reflect to our server. Now let's go back to our terminal, and then go to cd var www html that's one. So this is the PHP file of the website. Now I would like to add another user. Let's add JJK as a user, and and then JJK example.com. So okay, like that. So to save the changes, then just press Ctrl X, then Y, then hit enter. So we've already saved the changes that we've made in the PHP file. Now let's go back to the website and try to reload. So as we reload, we can see now here that the added, or the new user that we've added a while ago. And now let's check in the database. if the changes has been reflected on the server. Again, we will log into the MariaDB password, and then so we will check first. Show databases. So here is our Almalinux database. We will use that, or we like open, and then we are already inside the Almalinux database, and then select asterisk or select all from users. This is the table name. So here we can see that JJK is already added now in the data, so it's directly automatically reflected after we made changes in the website. So this confirms that our website is successfully connected to the MariaDB, and the changes are reflected in real time. So this means our database server is successfully or is running currently. Now we will proceed to the backing up and restoring MariaDB databases, and I think everyone is very aware of the importance of backing up files or backing up databases. Now I will be teaching you how to back up the database of the website that we've created a while ago now, and if something, an accident or something bad has happened, or like loss of data in a database, so I will also be teaching like how to restore the backup file in order to restore the lost data. So in order to back up the database Almalinux, we will be using this command mysql dump p, the name of the database, which is Almalinux, greater than backup file name SQL, and then enter the password. Afterwards, we will verify if the backup is successfully created. So we could use two ways now in verifying. We could use this file name .SQL, or we could use this file name. That. Now, however, what if the database of the website was accidentally deleted by an employee or a user? So what are we going to do? That is why backing up your database is very, very important. So for example, now again, we will enter first the for example, the database was accidentally deleted, so we will drop this first. So like that, let's try to check if, as you can see, so the website was affected because the database was deleted. So we will restore the data that was lost through the backup file that we have created prior to the incident. So we'll go back to the terminal, and then before we will restore, we will first create a new database. So we could create in terminal, or we could also create a new database by entering or logging in the MariaDB. So I would just like to create a new database here in the terminal. So database, I'll just use the same name, Almalinux. Okay, enter. Next is, now we will restore the backup file, root the Almalinux. With restoration, so we'll use less than the name of the backup file. So again, backing up greater than, so database backup. Restoration or restoring is backup file, and then the database, we will restore the backup file to the newly created database. So that's fine. It's less than going there. I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. But okay, let's proceed. So enter password. So after restoring, we will check if the data is really restored or is back. So we will enter or log in to our MariaDB, and then inside MariaDB we will run the newly created database, which is Almalinux, and then select all from users table, the table name. No, that was in the backup file. And then enter. So here we can see that the data is already successfully restored. Now, to fully verify that the data is already restored, we will go back to our website. Then let's reload the website. I'm sorry. Okay. And voila! Since the data is already restored, of course, our website will also restore itself. So we have successfully installed, configured, and tested our MariaDB database server. Thank you so much for staying with us or with me throughout the tutorial, and I hope that you will continue to watch and listen for the next part. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Kina Alango and we will now be conducting and exploring the comprehensive system performance monitoring and analysis in Almalinux. So as a continuation, we are already logged in into our Almalinux server that specifically hosts a database server, and our goal for this session is to monitor system performance, focusing on potential database related bottlenecks and manage disk space efficiently. So the established database, while containing simple data footprint, it is a fundamental step for early stage development and testing. So we need to ensure that it's performing optimally. So let's begin our system assessment by displaying system load estimates. So for this action, we will be using the command uptime. So this command gives us a crucial first insight into the overall performance of the system, which is basically a quick overview of the system's current status. So let's enter. Okay, so here's the output. And as you can see, the uptime provides information about the current time, the system uptime, or how long the system has been running since it's last started or booted, the number of users that are currently logged in, and the system load average. So let's break it down and analyze it further. Here it says up 108. So this means that the system has been running for 1 hour and 8 minutes. So since it was last started or booted. Next is the number of users logged in, and here there's only one user actively using the system. Lastly, we have load averages. So these load averages represent the average number of processes that are either actively using the CPU or waiting for CPU time. So as you can observe, there are 3 figures, and these figures represents the system loads over the last 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 15 minutes. So this is an integral part that helps indicate spikes or trends in system usage. So it is important to note that even with a small database, a continually high load average is an indication of potential bottlenecks. So this may be caused by background processes, poorly optimized system settings, or even early signs of database-related stress. So to be more specific, a high 1 minute average may indicate a temporary spike, and a high 5 or a high 15-minute average suggests that there is a sustained heavy usage which requires further investigation. So in this case, the load averages are 0.01, 0.02, and 0. So this is a very low load averages, which is a good sign, since it indicates that the system is not under heavy load and has plenty of resources available, and generally means that the system is running smoothly. So we'll take note of these values and compare them against the number of CPU cores to assess if the system is under any excessive strain. So you might question, why should this be conducted? Like, why should we compare it with the number of CPU cores? So how does the load averages correlate to the number of CPUs, and why do we need to compare it? So it's really simple, no? If the load average is less than the number of CPU cores, the system is handling tasks efficiently. While a load average that is equal to the number of cores, this means that the system is fully utilized but not overloaded. But if the load number is higher than the number of cores, the system is overloaded, and this means that tasks are waiting or queued because all cores are busy. So with all that said, let's determine the number of CPU cores on the server. So with that, we'll be using nproc and enter. So you see that the number of CPUs are only 2. So let's compare the load averages we obtained earlier, which are 0.01, 0.02, and 0. So for, the load averages are below the threshold of 2. So this suggests that the system is running efficiently. So however, let's say that the load averages were 3 or 4.2 and 3.5. So this would actually signal an overloaded system that needs immediate attention. So to simply put, this comparison helps determine if the server is under normal load or experiencing strain that could lead to performance issues. So let's proceed to the next step, which is to display the current system activities and to see what's happening on the system right now using top command. So let's type in top. So as you can see, this action shows a traditional text-based real-time view of system activity, which includes running processes, CPU loads, and memory usage, focusing on the database processes and other processes that requires or that uses high resources. So here we are mainly looking for any spikes in the CPU or memory usage, which would indicate the performance bottlenecks even with the limited data. So in here, the output shows it still shows the uptime and load averages, which can be seen in the top line over here. So it shows the processes and the tasks, the CPU usage, the memory usage, and the swap. So the task line shows that there are 127 total processes with 2 running, 126 sleeping. Oh, actually it's changing since it's real time. So now it's 1 running and 126 sleeping, 0 stop, and then 0 zombie. So this indicates that most processes are idle. So next is the CPU usage. It shows that there is that 99.8% of the CPU is idle. So there is very minimal usage from the user space processes and system processes. So this tells us that the CPU is not under any kinds of stress. Next we have is the memory usage. So it shows that about 3.7 gigabytes of total memory, with a large amount used for buff and cache. And there is a healthy amount of free memory, which is 3.1 GB, and with only a very small amount that's being used, which is 500 MB. So let's proceed to the memory swap. So it has 4 GB total, 4 GB free, non-used, and then 3 GB available memory. So this shows that the system is not relying on swap, or what we refer to as the extra memory on the disk. So down here is the process list. So we see a variety of kernel processes, system processes, and the top process itself. We can see that the top takes about a small percentage of the CPU, and it's moving. Okay, so the vast majority of the processes are using 0 CPU and 0 memory, meaning that they are in a sleeping state. So again, this reinforces the idea that the system is very idle. So overall, the output shows low resource usage. The CPU is mostly idle, and the memory usage is quite optimal, and the swap is barely used. So this means that the system is running efficiently with ample resources available. So next in our performance analysis is displaying the system status and most active processes with the command htop. So htop is not installed yet in Almalinux, so let's install it by using the command dnf install htop and -y. So let's wait for it. So using htop, we'll monitor running processes, particularly those related to the database, which in our case is MariaDB. So in other words, this command lists the top CPU consuming processes. So let's enter htop. So here you can see the first thing we can observe is that htop provides a very dynamic view of the system. Even though it's similar to the command top, the htop also incorporates colors. So the output is organized into sections, which is the top section and which shows the system information, and the main section right here, or the process list, is which lists down individual processes with its details. So let's break it down. In the top section, we can see the CPU usage represented by the colored bars, and these colors are very important because it serves a purpose and not just for aesthetic value. So they can give us a quick visual indication that of the different CPU states. So typically, you'll see green for user processes, blue for low priority processes, red for system or kernel processes, and yellow-orange for input-output wait. So the varying intensity of these colors visually represents the level of CPU utilization. So in here, you can see that there are colored bars. So the memory usage shows the total memory used, used memory, and available memory. Again, these colors helps us quickly assess the situation. So the used memory may be displayed in a different shade than the buffer or cache, which gives us a visual separation. So the tasks here tells us the total number of processes running, the number of currently running processes, and the load average. So as mentioned, the load averages provides a quick snapshot of how busy the system is. And again, we can see the uptime here, which indicates how long the system has been running since its last boot. So the process list makes use of colors to distinguish between different processes, such as running, sleeping, and so on. So this highlights a very important information. So we can see through the process list here. You can scroll down and see their resource usage. We can also use these function keys at the bottom to sort the processes, filter them, and perform other actions such as maybe terminating some processes. So the function key are also color coded for clarity, which is blue. Okay, so overall, the HTOP output shows that the system is running smoothly with no immediate signs of resource bottlenecks. So before we move on with the following process, I assume that you've noticed how similar top and HTOP command outputs are, and there's actually a reason why. So essentially, both HTOP and top monitor system processes are similar but differ in usability. So HTOP is more user-friendly with a colorful interactive display and easy scrolling, which is great for spotting resource-heavy processes, while top command has a simpler text-based interface that uses fewer resources and available and on most systems, making it ideal for server or low resource setup. So for us to quit this interface, we just need to press F10 there. So with all that cleared up, let's proceed to the displaying of the current overall CPU activity by using the command vmstat. So the vmstat provides vital statistics about processes, CPU activity, the memory, the swap, the input-output, and so on. So under the procs here, or processes, there are variables R and B. So R actually stands for running or runnables, and B is for block. So in this case, three processes are either running or waiting, and we should note that a consistently high R value indicates CPU distribution conflict or contention. So here in B, there are 0 processes blocked, meaning there's no immediate input-output bottlenecks causing any processes to actually wait. So we're especially interested in these CPU columns. So the CPU columns are US, SY, ID, WA, and ST. So to start with US, it represents user CPU time, SY for system CPU time, ID for idle CPU time, WA for input-output wait time, and ST is for steal time. So monitoring the CPU columns helps us understand how the CPU is being utilized. And for example, a high system CPU time value can indicate system level issues, while a low ID value suggests that the CPU is heavily loaded. So in here, US is 0, so it has no user CPU usage. SY has 0 as well, so there's no system CPU usage. ID with a 100%, so this indicates that, well, 100% of the CPU is mostly idle right now, and there is 0 WA, which indicates that there is no significant input-output wait. And lastly, we have ST with 0 time being stolen in our virtualized environment. So actually, on a database server, input-output wait time is particularly important. Even with small sample tables or database, any small yet frequent read or write operations can lead to high input-output wait times. So if ever we observe a high WA value, it suggests that disk input-output is a bottleneck in data transfer, which slows down the overall system performance. Okay, so we've covered VM stat, and so now let's proceed to displaying the amount of physical memory. So as we all know, memory is a critical resource for database performance. So in order to display the amount of physical memory that our system has, we will be using the command free-h. So the free-h command actually also examines the system's memory usage. So this command displays the total, the used, free, and available RAM, and the swap space that in a readable format. So first, let's identify the difference of free and available memory status. So when we say free, this is the amount of RAM that is unused at the moment. So while available is a better estimate of how much memory is realistically usable. So this includes free memory plus the reclaimable cache and buffers that can be used for active processes if ever needed. So we'll also be paying close attention to the used and available memory columns. So the system has a total of 3.7 gigabytes of RAM installed, and the amounts of RAM currently in use is 437 megabytes, with 3 gigabytes free or completely unused. So we can also see that there is 11 MB that is used for shared memory, and that a somehow significant portion is being used for buffers or cache with a value of 402 megabytes. So an estimate of how much memory is available is for starting new applications without swapping is 3.2 gigabytes. So moving on to swap space, it has a total of 4.1 gigabytes with no swap space being used. So there's 0, and then there is 4.1 GB free. So there is minimal swap usage, indicating that the system isn't under any memory pressures. So if ever the swap usage is high, it can indicate that the system is relying heavily on disk space for memory, which can significantly slow down database operations. So again, even with a small database, excessive swapping can lead to performance degradation. So we need to ensure that the system has sufficient RAM to accommodate the database and other essential processes. So let's proceed next. We need to display the memory usage statistics. So for a deeper dive into memory usage, we'll use vmstat-s. So earlier we used the command vmstat, right? So what is the difference between the two? Basically, vmstat is for live monitoring, while vmstat-s gives us more of a historical snapshot of resource usage. So with that said, the vmstat-s command provides a detailed summary of memory, CPU, and processes statistics. So we'll analyze these statistics and to understand how memory is being allocated and used. Again, the system's memory usage is adequate with a generous amount of free RAM and no swap usage. So it's clear that there's no memory pressure. So in CPU statistics, which is from here to here, the CPU remains largely idle, indicating that it's not under heavy load. And lastly, the process and kernel statistics, which start from here in the page in down to the forks, indicates that there are minimal swap activities, which has also normal context switches and interruptions and reasonable process forks, which overall indicates that the system is stable and well functioning. So based on this output, we can say that the system is functioning efficiently. So for the next step, the next process is to display the amount of disk space used by all files and subdirectories. So disk space is a crucial part for database stability and performance. So databases store all the data on the disk, including tables, indexes, logs, and backups. So without sufficient disk space, new data cannot be written, and the database may become unstable and overall unusable. So monitoring and planning for sufficient disk space is critical to prevent issues and support for the database growth. So that being said, we'll use df-h to check the disk space usage of all the mounted file systems. So as you can see, only a few file systems uses space. So here there are temporary files with a size of 1.9 GB, 756 GB, and so on. So the most important file system here is the dev mapper or Almalinux root. So this is actually our root file system. It has 45 GB total size with unused 2.1 GB and available 43 gigabytes. So it's only using about 5% of the total space. So this means that there's still plenty of space left on the root file system. So overall, the storage is not a concern since the system has plenty of free disk space. So this means that there's ample space with over 40 GB free on root. So it's not really nearing any full capacity. So to maintain disk space efficiently, we'll use the command find to locate large old files that might be consuming unnecessary space. So even if the database itself is small, log files, backups, or other system files can take up a really significant amount of space. Now let's find potential candidates for archival or deletion. So let's type in the command find. So we finished typing it. So this command searches for files in the system that meets the specific criteria. So this command searches for regular files that are older than 1 day and larger than 15 megabytes. So it also excludes the files located in the procs, the sys, and the devs directories. So why exclude these three? Because these aren't real folders on the hard drive, and they're like live views only of the system activity. So when searching for files to clean up, we skip them to avoid errors or to avoid system damage and make the search faster. So in addition, the standard error redirected to dev null suppresses any error messages from directories we don't have permission to access. Alright, so let's analyze the output of the find command that we ran. So the output shows 4 files that matches the criteria. So first is this one, which is the bin MariaDB backup. So this is actually the MariaDB backup utility that is used to create backups of the MariaDB databases. So the next 2 files are similar. So this could be a result of how the find commands was executed. And lastly, we have the user live executable MariaDB, which is the data server executable. So like I mentioned, we can review the list of files to identify any candidates for archival or deletion. So we should also consider the location and purpose of these files before taking any further action, because this ensures that we don't accidentally delete any essential files or database files. So the final the very final step in our system performance analysis is to display the network performance. So network performance is critical for database accessibility, especially if the database is accessed remotely. So in Almalinux, if top is not yet installed by default, so let's install it by using the command dnf install iftop-y. So let's wait. And there it is. It's installing. And there it is. It's complete. So we can now use the iftop command. So let's input it. Iftop. So the use of iftop is to monitor network traffic and identify any potential bottlenecks. So iftop displays a real-time bandwidth usage by connection, and it also shows the source of the destination of the network traffic along with its data transfer rates. So in here we can monitor network activity for any unusual patterns or high bandwidth connections. So we can also check here for any network latency or packet loss, which can impact database query performances. So this is to ensure that the network is stable and efficient to support database operations. Let's look at the bottom section instead. So we can see the overall traffic statistics. So the TX section shows the transmitted data, and the RX section shows the received data, and the total section shows the combined data. So the CUM values actually show the cumulative amount of data transferred, which is important. So the peak value shows the highest data transfer rates observed, which is in either byte or kilobyte range. And the rates show the data transfer rates over the past 2 seconds, 10 seconds, and 40 seconds. So with that, we have now completed the system performance monitoring and analysis. So to recap the step-by-step procedure we just did, so it actually provides a comprehensive approach to monitoring and assessing system performance. So we started by the quick overview of system load using uptime command, then gradually dived into more detailed metrics with commands like top and htop for real-time process monitoring and vmstat for detailed resource usage analysis. Next is the memory and disk utilization were evaluated by the commands like free-h, vmstat-s, and df-h. So this ensures that we understand the system's capacity and potential bottlenecks. And to maintain efficient disk usage, the find command helps identify large, old files that may need deletion. So lastly, the network performance, which is on the screen right now, is assessed with tools like iftop that provides insights into traffic patterns and bandwidth utilization. So methodically carrying out the tasks, we are able to discover possible resource constraints, maximize performance, and get the system running effectively with enough capacity for current and future demands. So that is all for my part. Thank you.
So, you have just watched our step-by-step guide on installing MariaDB on Almalinux 9.5, covering user management, resource benchmarking, and database verification.
We hope this tutorial helped you set up and optimize your database server with ease. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to JJK for more IT-related content.
Got questions or suggestions for our next topic? Drop them in the comment section down below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!
Bye.